This is American Dumpster Fire.
And that's why you ride elephants.
Righto.
So, and the audience will never know what we were talking about. This is American Dumpster Fire, and this is Loki.
This is Tyr.
And Odin.
And we're going to start with some current events.
All right.
So, you were telling us about...
Oh, well, I had actually watched the debates. Now, I didn't watch them live because, like most people, I forgot they existed.
I can't do it. I can't watch these debates because I feel like I'm seeing something completely different than other people are seeing when I'm watching them.
Is this like in South Park where he sees nothing but shit and fart noises?
Well, some of that, yes. But yeah, people are
Well,
claiming
drinking helps. That was the cure.
This guy won. But then polling numbers don't say that at all. My personal opinion of what I saw doesn't say that. You know, so I'm like, all right, it's pointless.
Well, they addressed that a bit in the debates. It was actually the most lively and interesting debates. But first, before we go further, I'd like to bitch about something. Again, I didn't watch it live. I didn't DVR it because I totally forgot it existed. There was a bit of advertisement, but not much. And frankly, a lot of people have cut the cord, which means they've lost their basic normal TV stations.
Oh, yeah, I just do apps
which
now.
you could get with antenna, but everyone's using streaming service, so they don't have it. So you almost need cable to get local.
If there's a chance that cable will get my money, I don't do it.
Yeah, we really need to revolutionize all this, and I would love to do an episode on the whole cutting cord thing because it's still chaos out there and way too much money. But that's not what we're talking about. What I'm talking about is these debates. You know, they might be broadcast on NBC's, CNBC, and CNN, and all that, and then that's it. They're not on YouTube anywhere, and you know why? Because they get blocked and reported. But you can always go to their website and see it. Dude, come on. Okay, now look, this is not original programming that you scripted out, or even reality TV, which you kind of scripted out, and got a bunch of people promised to be famous to do hacky crap for half an hour or an hour, okay? And then creatively edited. There's no money invested, other than the fact that you broadcast a public effing service.
No, that's probably not true. But we do need to decorporatize the process.
But they block and take it off of YouTube. You know how much work it takes? It took me 40 minutes to find it on YouTube, unedited.
The debates make them a fortune, I'm sure.
I could have went to their website, but screw that shit.
But it's wrong that this whole process is corporatized. It's wrong that the whole thing is for profit. This really should be to settle part of the agreement with our FCC or whatever. Let's stop worrying about whether somebody swore or showed a nipple on the air, and let's start worrying about that the process is free and open for everybody to see. Let's start worrying about that.
I'm just saying that debates do not belong to any TV station.
That's what I'm saying. Let's start saying, instead of this, NBC's going to do a debate, Fox is a debate. No, everybody gets to see the fucking debate. It's just one thing, you know what I'm saying, and it's part of an FCC agreement or something like that for, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, back when they were interested in the public good and actually reporting the news.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. The FCC is used for the wrong thing. Stop with the obscenity thing. We have a First Amendment, and we'll talk more about the First Amendment later.
There's also harbor laws. After 10 o'clock, you can literally do anything. Not that they do, but they could literally do anything.
Most of that shit's bullshit and vague. The truth of the matter is they shouldn't be. Obscenity is bullshit, and nowhere in the First Amendment is it mentioned, and it's such a vague idea that this person thinks this is obscene and that person doesn't, and they're saying, oh well, the general person, when it's what the general population thinks is obscene, and you say that as 40 million people a day consume pornography. So, do you think it's obscene? Do you really? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think much is obscene, but I've been warped by being an adult and watching whatever I want, so that when I'm actually around kids or sensitive religious people and they're over at my house for whatever reason, I have trouble remembering what good, decent people actually watch.
It's not my problem.
I don't know how to handle them anymore.
It's not my problem if your Bible makes you offended at everything.
That's
not my problem.
Kind of the problem.
Grow up.
It's like there's not much I can think of on TV that may not offend.
Grow up.
I don't know.
You're an adult. Grow the fuck up. Nobody cares what you believe. Nobody cares. That's all there is to it. Okay. Debates belong to everybody.
Yeah, I wish that was true. So anyway, 40 minutes later, I finally find the complete unedited version, including the hour of talking heads talking about what the debates will be. Fuck pregame. Fuck that shit. Nobody watches it. Nobody cares. Skip an hour ahead. It's all bullshit.
But they have a half hour to an hour to fill.
I'm actually more interested in the 12 to 20 minutes that tends to follow afterwards, where they break down what was said and what was bullshit. That's far more interesting than the 53 minutes of them guessing what they're going to talk about.
It's a good thing that Republicans don't really debate anymore because they need definitions at the end of like a Republican debate.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What does things mean?
Well, in fairness, Clinton, a Democrat, did question the word "the." So
That's political bullshit. Let's be fair.
The problem with the
he did.
the Republican debates was always that so much of it was just complete and utter bullshit.
Oh, they just lie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody calls them out. And when they do
No.
call them out on it, it's just like, eh.
Democrats were not free of misleading and misrepresenting.
Not saying
some-
they aren't.
No, but it's not like blatant fairy tale time.
And honestly, I
True.
would love the bipartisan debates or
except for
open debates where it's all the politicians from all the parties or whatever
I
like
agree.
that.
Why
And
don't we do that?
We don't just say, well, that's not true, and you keep going. No, that's blatantly false. That is a lie. This
yeah,
is the truth
that's the
of this.
thing. Is like truly, why can there not be a slight delay? Both parties are there, both of your main candidates, and
What,
everything they say is
PolitiFacted on
Why
real time.
aren't we?
Yes,
Yeah. Why aren't we doing this?
I agree.
I mean, at least one of the
If
debates.
it's
That'd be
coming
fun.
out of your mouth,
I'm down
from
for it.
somebody who is supposed to represent the people, it needs to be fact checked.
I agree.
Just like a buzzer.
and
Yes!
then there should,
Oh my God! Yes.
and
Now
on
I want
top
the
of that, there should be a follow-up show the next day where we really break it down, and you
this
go
is
over
how
all that
much
stuff.
bullshit fell out of this.
Right. And on
candidate.
top of that, we set up a website where you can go and further follow up on how false all this was.
We can't even fact check the last 5 minutes. It just qualifies as liar, liar, pants on fire. So,
well,
or
no, there is a
or worse,
political
we now have a new
fact checker
category.
that has that status.
Word salad. Don't know what to do with
Oh my
that. We have
God.
no idea what was said.
This wasn't
We're just
even
gonna let it go.
English. We're
So it
just
was
gonna-
brought up
yeah.
recently. I think Trump is well over 15,000 lies at this point since he took office.
Who's actually counting that, and how
Uh,
do they actually manage not to lose their mind in the process of counting? I would have just drifted off by this
It was.
point.
I know CNN was keeping tally, but this one might have been MSNBC or whatever. Anyways, but I was like, let's be fair here. I'm not sure that he does have 15,000 lies. Some of this might just be total word salad and doesn't mean anything.
I mean, is it the same thing repeated over and over again, more than one lie?
No, but he just has so many incoherent ramblings. that
Yeah,
you don't
that's what I'm
know
saying.
if it's a lie or if it's
Yeah,
true,
I think they just let those go.
or if he's speaking to humans, or you don't know what it is.
I'm just waiting for.
But
the,
I don't think that it does count as a lie.
I'm just waiting for the day where he's at one of his like Nazi rallies that he does, and all of a sudden he just breaks down Adderall. He just because that's all. He's just snorting Adderall all fucking day. You know.
Allegedly.
I know that there is
That asterisk
definitely
must always exist.
definitely something wrong there.
Just saying.
Probably.
Otherwise, he's got a bad makeup artist.
Oh, I think that's him.
Oh, wait a minute. He does have a bad.
I mean,
makeup artist.
honestly, I feel like a quality makeup artist can get up to the hairline at
Did you
least.
see the picture? You saw the picture, right?
I've seen many
The one
pictures,
he
but if you're talking about a
denies is
recent one, no.
real?
Yeah, he goes fake news, and so I posted the picture online.
Fake
What were you
nose.
doing? Eating ass. 'Cause that's what it looks. He's got the brown face and then white from that line around his forehead back.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that's totally ass face right there.
I don't know. It's almost like he wears like one of those swimming caps
Yeah.
when he goes get spray tanned or
He's
something.
got
I'm
babushka.
relatively certain that's exactly what's happening.
He's got his babushka on,
to protect his.
And he goes
His
to his little
glorious hair.
spray tan booth.
and Melania just bends over and blows ass on his face.
I mean, but couldn't they just like airbrush him after the fact? I mean, he's the president. Can't he afford that? Just a little touch
Melania.
up around the edges.
no
You'd
more.
have to admit there's a problem.
no
in
more
order for that
Burger
to
King.
happen.
But his eyes are completely white. When he closes his eyes, it's just white. It's like
Yeah, because he's wearing those
the goggles.
minis.
I know. Oh, jeez. It's like when someone with like dark brown black hair dyes their hair blonde, and then they leave the eyebrows just bushy and dark. Like, what are you doing?
Ooh, yeah, that's bad.
What are you doing?
But I mean,
Who are you fooling with this?
have you seen the filters where they take off all the makeup? Like, it really is worse. He looks like a lich. Like, he looks undead without all the,
he
the
is
fake
an
coloring.
old guy. I mean, I don't know.
I'm not convinced he's not undead.
No, I'm not either.
Because I
You
feel like
may
he
very
should
well.
be actually
Alright.
dead by now.
This is fun, but it's getting us nowhere.
Just skin stretched over a potato. So.
What were we talking about? The debates?
The debates, yeah.
Yes.
Well, master debaters.
Oh, but I did actually want to call out. I really hope I'm not misrepresenting this because it's been a couple days since I saw it, and I'm not going to remember all the details exactly. Hopefully, I'm calling out the right people.
Okay.
But I believe it was Buttigieg who misrepresented socialism as communism. And I'm like, really, dude? Really? Are you really going to do that just to
So-
win some points? There's no way you don't know what that means.
Are you sure he doesn't know? Are you
No,
sure he
I
knows the
truly
difference?
believe he was an underhanded attack. There was a lot of,
Because it's
sly
amazing the amount of
kinda
Americans
remarks
who
made
don't
from
know
people.
the difference.
and that's the thing. He's not, even though he calls himself a socialist, he's not
Buttigieg
really.
calls himself a socialist?
No, Bernie.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Bernie's not a socialist.
Well, no, he's a
He's a democratic socialist.
He's
which
a
isn't the same thing.
socialized capitalist. He believes that capitalism needs certain controls.
Yeah.
like
that's-
like our
Anybody with a
government
fucking
currently
brain
exists.
thinks that.
Right. Literally everybody should think that.
But he highlights the socialist part because he's like, there's an imbalance here,
There is. There's an
Right.
imbalance in the force.
and then it tends to be the only thing
There is
people
a
focus on.
purposely designed imbalance that is made to fuck people over.
So we have a certain class of people who are parasites
And he also
at
was
the top of the food chain who have sucked so much that there's little blood left in the rest of the body, if any.
well, before he was in
Those
the Democratic
parasites
Party,
are billionaires.
he was in the Socialist Party, and the thing is that it now stands against him because people are making this argument that Bernie could not win against Trump. Like if he was the leader, if he was the Democratic,
It's fun to say things you don't know.
Well, the
right.
thing
Like
is,
that's
he
the
literally-
opposite of what was happening.
well,
in
they
the
were
last
all saying this,
election.
all of the candidates,
Sure,
including
because he's getting the most votes
the moderator
without delegates.
brings it up, and his counter was, "That's funny because who's leading the polls right now?"
Right.
I was like, "Damn, dude."
if you take out the
damn.
delegates, he's got the most votes.
Right, and that's the
Even
thing,
without him, he still
is
does.
that maybe the
Even with the
DNC
delegates, he's winning,
The
yeah.
By 0.1
DNC
or
doesn't
so?
want to vote for Bernie, but literally all the people do.
Yeah, they totally tanked his bid last time, and I don't think they can again.
They did tank his bid. They're the reason that Trump is in office. I will
I
forever,
fully agree that. I fully
forever
believe
blame
that.
the DNC. They will
Well,
never see a penny of my
unfortunately-
money. I want it taken apart.
Unfortunately, the DNC is blaming him, and there's a lot of people who believe it. And I'm not here to take sides. I'm not here to say which.
I'll take
I have
sides.
my personal beliefs in this whole thing, but it's
I
neither
think
here
that
nor there.
Whoever wins the vote wins the
I
vote.
will, and that's what he says. However, that is something that bothered me, is what I'm seeing, and I didn't see the debates, so I might be misinterpreting what I'm reading here. But
Okay.
it looks like Bernie Sanders is the only one saying that whoever wins the vote should get the nomination.
He
while
was the only one to
everybody else-
clearly talk about it when they brought up the Electoral College. and
While
all that.
everybody else says that whoever wins the popular vote shouldn't get the nomination.
Which is utter ridiculousness.
I'm trying to remember the exact wording because they kind of politician their way around
Which is,
it.
well, what's even funnier is Warren specifically said before that she would want the Electoral College
Okay,
abolished.
I'm not going to be able to answer this without misrepresenting it because I do not remember the exact details except that it was weird and funny how it went down.
So if anybody
And
knows that this
basically-
changed, let us know.
Basically, the moderator was going, "I need yes or no answers," and then everyone gave this longer story, and a few people eventually were like, "Yeah," or like this, and broke it down to like 5 words. But some of them went off in like 5-minute sequences where they kept trying to buzz them out.
Here's how I feel about that.
And they
you
weren't
don't
really
vote for that
answering.
guy.
Well,
If
that
you
was
can't-
most of them.
If you can't give a yes or no answer, you don't deserve my vote.
Well, even Bernie gave a slightly longer answer, but he was basically like, no or yes, but because of this. And he made it as simple
But
as
in
that.
the end, what he was saying was that the popular vote is what should matter.
I believe that's
and
what he said,
in the
yes.
end, from what I understand, nobody else agreed with that.
The wording that everyone responded to does not stick in my head.
And
it
here's
was
w-
convoluted.
And here's how I feel. Not only at the DNC
It
level.
seemed like that everyone was hedging their bets, to be honest. That's how it sounded.
Okay, so I feel in the end that the conventions, the DNC and the RNC, should be abolished.
Yes, and that is like probably the number one reason that ranked choice voting needs to be there is because those two powerhouses are ruining things.
You wouldn't need to abolish them if we had ranked choice because they would be
Well,
diminished
first
just
off,
by
They
the
would just
existence.
fall
I want to
apart.
kill the primaries altogether. Instead, I want to replace it with an all-party system where anybody, no matter what your party, can enter the debates. The idea is to get out what is it you actually stand for,
It's all about
and
numbers.
how will what you stand for help America?
If you can get 1% of the vote, then you have a reason to exist.
Sure, yeah, and then what we're trying to determine is, do you have enough backers to belong on the ballot?
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
And then we put all those people, whether it's 5 or 500 people, on this ballot, and we rank choice them. And that's what we do.
I mean, ideally, let's keep it to like a dozen.
I was
just
gonna
so we
say,
can
I
keep
feel like there
tracking
There's
should
no
these
way you
people.
can get 500 people with more than like 2% of the vote.
That's what I'm saying. Eventually, we're going to make a standard where it's like 4 or something.
Yeah.
We're going to make up
It's
a
gotta
number.
be
where
And
we
I'm
can
okay
keep
with
it
that.
Under 10. Like, I think you really have to narrow it down. There's no way anybody's going to keep
Because your
track of
mind
500.
can't keep track of that
But,
many
but
people.
my point is, there's no, there won't be, if we set it at like, I don't know, whatever it is, between 1 and 5%.
I mean, ideally, I'd like
minimum
5.
support.
Even 10
And-
sounds like too much.
in the primaries, if there's
6 would be a good number.
you know, well, I'm fine if there's a dozen. It doesn't matter to me. But the I think people start losing track after a while, and you're going to get to a point where there's a
They're
bunch of
just
people
writing numbers down.
who are going to have like tons of zeros in their ballots.
Well, that's the
and
thing.
stuff like
It's
that.
like the DNC when they all the candidates. We had like 25 this year or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
they
but it's narrowed down.
when
How
they
many are we
first-
down to?
No, I get it. Well, trying to remember 6.
Yeah.
But when
And that's more than I can think of.
when they first started and they got themselves down to like 12 or so, they all sounded basically the same. Slight differences. Some of them were like pretty much what Bernie said, but not that drastic. That was basically everyone's stance.
Yeah, I feel like that is everybody's stance.
Okay. And it's only now that
They're
you're
like,
starting
we
to
see
see
how much you
differences.
like Bernie,
When you get the number
but
smaller.
I'm trying to grab the middle ground vote
But-
too.
But you've been lied to by the mainstream media and convinced that he's an extremist when he's not.
right. So they're
Well,
trying to grab the
I
middle
mean-
ground vote too.
So I like
He's
what
definitely-
Bernie's saying, just like the rest of you do, but I'm not an extremist. You mean you don't want to actually accomplish it? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see the argument because in days past, before W, we used to be able to reach across the aisle, have compromise,
Th-
get things done.
Okay, yes, but
That's
that's
gone.
because we
No, it
had,
is gone. It's totally gone.
We had two types of centrists. You had conservative centrist, you had liberal centrist, and the outliers didn't exist almost. Nowadays,
Non-significant numbers, yeah.
you have right-wing extremists and liberal centrists,
Right.
and that's all you have.
And that's the problem. And that's the thing. Like, I love Obama. I thought he was,
but he was the centrist.
and that's the thing, is that even when he was like, okay, I'm going to bring this healthcare package, and he actually effing did it, which is something that
And
Hillary couldn't get done.
let me
and
state,
many people couldn't get
I'm
done.
not saying centrist as a slur. It's not a bad thing. It just shouldn't be the only thing.
But my point was is that even him, he was like, they're never going to buy the package as it is. So let's cut in half
Don't
and then
you feel
negotiate.
like the lack of
He-
confidence in it, though,
But
killed
that's the
it?
thing. When you negotiate, you
That's-
start high,
That's
you meet
exactly
in the
what
middle.
happened. The
But when you
compromises they made on it is what tanked that whole
Yes.
thing.
that's the thing. But they
It
anticipate.
doesn't work right because of what they did to compromise
Okay.
it.
Exactly.
Look, I'm a bit of an accommodating person. I don't like saying no,
No,
to people.
fuck them.
No, I'm talking about me as a person. Okay, I don't like saying
Yeah, fuck you too.
Eat my ass. All right. So I don't like saying no to people. I don't like making letting people down or make them feel bad or not like living up to expectations and all that crap. So I try to accommodate. But the fact is that you're never meeting at the middle. You're always meeting at someone else's idea of what middle is, which is far outside your comfort zone. And that's what they do when they go, oh well, the Republicans will never accept that. So let's dial it back a little before we introduce it to them. You know what you're going to get? You'll be lucky to get a quarter
But-
what you want.
No,
You're
but
not getting half. You're getting less than a quarter.
Yeah, but it had already gone through negotiations, and they put things in there specifically that the Republicans wanted, like the stipulation that absolutely everybody had to have health care. That was their compromise that the Republicans wanted, so that they were making up costs. Because once that was more people paying into health care.
Every Tuesday, we've got to kick a kitten now because Republicans wanted it in that bill.
But my point
Right.
is, that's the first thing that Republicans complain about is, oh, well, the government's telling us what to do. Everybody has to have insurance. That was the Republican fucking thing that they wanted in there.
Oh God!
Even the
let's
Republican
not forget.
politicians are the ones who are
I
trying
think-
to throw.
but
a
I'll be-
This
bomb
was
under the
Romney
bus for
care.
that.
I
This
think-
was a
yeah, I
Republican
know.
plan,
Well,
and
it's-
it worked.
If you brand it as a Democrat thing, it's automatically evil. But now Romney's evil, so by Democrat or by Republican standards. But
Really?
nonetheless,
Yeah, I thought he was a Republican
No.
Tron.
I
They
think
hate him because he voted against Trump in the impeachment.
Oh, that's true, but
So-
only on the first charge.
it doesn't matter. Look, now they're a cult, so it's going to be what it's going to be. But I think what Obamacare did was it taught the Republicans that if they just stood their ground hard enough, they could get whatever they wanted. And
And
so
that's what they
now
do.
we have this monster. So the Republican Party is just a monster that thinks that they can just bully everything through that they want the way they want it.
Which is working well for them.
It is. It's working
Especially
greatly.
when you're already
the
in
only
office.
way we can fight this is to burn the system down.
Well, see, here that's the problem. See, the
Which
thing
is
is,
why we need Bernie.
they're
Because
already-
he's the only one with the balls to do it.
they're
and
already in
burn in his
office.
name.
they're already in office, which means they get to gerrymander and continue to stay in office.
Right.
So then what?
I
Game
want to
over.
know what kind of fucking
Fingers crossed.
satanic rituals are going on in there to keep those
Hey,
fuckers
wait,
alive this
what
long
about
too.
while we're on the subject?
My fingers are crossed for amoebic dysentery running through Senate. Just saying.
Oh God, like that flu.
God forbid that actually happen, and then they're like, "Sir, did you have anything to do with
Oh,
this?"
God.
I picked amoebic dysentery because it's so weird. That's why.
I totally forgot what I was gonna say. All right.
Amoebic dysentery. Go shit yourselves. So. No, I mean, look, I don't know.
Compromise is a thing of the past.
And,
We either need to tear down the existing system or nothing will ever get done
Well, the
again.
problem
and
is that
Republicans have made it weakness.
even having
They've
a-
exposed every weakness.
an energetic, energizing candidate who wants to do a lot of change doesn't mean shit unless you also fill out the rest of that ballot. Get your senator, get your representative.
Oh, we have to topple the right wing in order to
change
get anything
your
done.
mayors and governors.
We have to topple all of
Vote all the way down the ticket, not just the president. Don't just show up and check that one box and go home and do your duty. That is not enough
But do you know
anymore.
how much we're standing against right now? Like you said, things are being gerrymandered so that our votes count for less.
Not to mention all the blatant voter suppression.
Voter suppression.
Right.
They're purging the voter
ballots
rolls.
that show up in the
Yeah,
swamp.
if you
Oh.
haven't voted in the last 6 years, I hear that you are no longer registered.
Oh, some states aren't even worried
and
about
they're
that.
eliminating Native
I've checked-
American votes.
I check before every election now because of how bad it got. I got purged when I had voted in the previous election. So
Maybe I
I
should
had to
check.
re-enroll because I was purged after only 2 years.
Did you move in that time or something?
No,
I had to.
That's
I had
crazy.
to check
Ohio is
mine.
just scumbags.
Ohio
Yeah.
is shady as fuck.
Yeah, I no longer answer those polls. I used to think it was my civic duty to answer those polls, and then I started getting cynical, and I was like, am I being paranoid? Or are they maybe using this as an excuse to gerrymander my vote out of
Right.
existence?
Yeah.
I don't know who these people represent.
Oh, well, Ohio is only a red state now because of gerrymandering.
Right. But you think about all those polls that you answer. Who is that in service to? You know,
Jim Jordan?
I won't answer polls anymore. I won't answer surveys anymore. Ohio is shady as fuck.
Polls are for
I
strippers.
mean, I think all politics is, but
This state specifically, it has seriously gone down.
Oh, no, there's big
like
problems,
it's
yeah.
so bad now.
What's funny
so
is
bad.
the state also has an enormous gay porn problem. So it's funny that we are a red state and suddenly we have a huge gay porn problem.
is it
Where-
a problem?
I mean, addiction.
Okay.
So I think the
I mean,
two
are they maxing their credit cards?
I think the
what
two
constitutes
things-
a problem? They're getting a lot of computer viruses.
I think the two things are related. So we also have a lot
I'm
of
part of that problem. If
gay
you were wondering.
prostitutes.
No.
You getting the gay
Is
Is
prostitutes
that breaking
too?
up
No, I
marriages
don't-
because they
I
can't
don't
close
think
out the
gay.
window fast enough?
So I don't know.
Anyway,
Keeping them churches empty.
I mean, you got to hover on the minimize. I mean,
no,
come
that's
on.
the thing is
That's
the
where they
churches
meet
here are
them.
packed.
Yeah.
Unless you got like 20 windows open. I mean, what are you doing?
What?
I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is.
There's no problem.
Okay.
Watch all the gay porn you like. Anyway.
Enjoy.
Anyhow.
Pornhub for president.
No, that was the other
Could
thing
do
I
but
wanted to
worse.
bring up. Like, what's this shit about wanting Bernie to release his medical records? That's not
Okay,
something
now
that's
he
even
did.
legal
As I
to
understand,
ask.
he released.
HIPAA is a thing.
Well, okay, yes.
So he's not the only candidate with the same
But they,
medical issue, by the way.
I believe that I don't know if it's a precedent or they actually
Are we
passed a
worried
law.
about his age?
But he did release like 3 letters or some crap of like he's okay, but it wasn't his full medical thing, and they were getting all pissy about that. And it's like, I'll release it if
Number
you
one.
want. You know,
Do you want to release your medical history to the
yeah,
public?
I certainly don't.
That's not the same thing as releasing your taxes. Second of all,
yeah, I don't think so
if
either.
we're going to make Bernie release any kind of medical information whatsoever, I want a fucking Trump
But
drug
the
test.
problem is
I
that
want drug test results
Oh,
from
yeah.
Trump
I
now.
don't disagree.
I want. Well, if
but
we're gonna
that's
do
the
that,
problem. The
then I
Trump
want-
released a letter, and everyone said that's not good enough. So when Bernie released a letter, they were like, eh. And I'm like,
Trump released
I don't know.
an absolute
Okay,
bullshit
Trump looks out of
letter.
shape. Bernie still seems very light.
I'd pay a
Here's
I
the-
will never be that old net lively.
Anything
I
we
know,
ask
I'm
of one
pretty sure Bernie
candidate,
could
I
kick
want
my
of all
ass.
candidates. If we're asking for tax returns on one candidate, I want tax returns on all candidates. If we're going to
I
ask
find that
for
acceptable.
medical records on one candidate, I want medical records on all
I don't
candidates.
Well, yeah,
necessarily
parity,
want medical
fairness.
records on
And
anybody.
no, because I
Well,
agree
no,
with
if
it.
you
'cause
drug
release-
I
test
don't.
results.
I don't ever want to release my medical records.
That's my point.
But because I think it's just creepy and weird and odd,
it's
and
not
I realize
something
that
we should ask of
he's older.
people.
Okay, I thought ageism was illegal, but okay, Trump and him are the same age. I thought maybe
We're talking about voting. We're not talking about like one manager hiring an employee.
it doesn't matter. It's still a precedence, and I don't
I-
want to release my medical records.
Yeah,
No,
I
no, I'm
agree.
saying
I
you're talking
don't-
about ageism. I'm
However,
just saying, it's
I
like,
do have to take a drug test for my job, and I do want all the candidates drug tested,
that would be nice.
I'm not opposed to
all
that.
of them. I also want.
And especially if a state is going to require that people on welfare take a drug test, fuck
So
you, so
well,
your politicians.
we live in one of those states. So another thing is I want all potential instances of sexual harassment brought to light from
well,
all candidates.
I feel like we should list it
that,
right on the
that
ballot.
boots out one of them.
List
So,
it on
sorry,
the
Amy
ballot.
Klobuchar. I no, I know. She's not. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. So I
Anyway.
heard she was one of the few with 0. So that's why I picked on her, 'cause she
Okay.
has 0. Her, Elizabeth Warren and Sanders are the only ones with 0
Really?
0 claims of sexual harassment.
allegations of sexual
I
harassment.
wasn't
yeah.
aware that the others had. I mean, the only
All
one I
of
heard
the
was the
others
Bloomberg
have,
that was
yeah.
called on the last
Bloomberg's
debate.
the worst. That's why he's actually got more than Trump does, from what I understand.
What?
Well, supposedly,
Whoa.
because
28.
Holy moly.
well, that whole like brought up by the moderator / Warren, where the why don't you release? Supposedly he did actually release 3 people from their
Yeah, 3 out of there was 3 out
gag
of
orders.
3 out of 12 or 20 or something like
Well,
that.
you just said 28 or something.
Yeah, no, but there are 28 allegations.
Oh,
I
but
don't
not that
know-
many
I know.
necessarily.
I don't know
Okay.
about all that,
Trump
but
had quite a few people claiming sexual harassment.
Oh, no
something
doubt.
like
well,
a
I'm just
lot.
going by the numbers I was looking up online, and it looked like it was Bloomberg, then Trump, then Biden.
Holy moly.
Damn.
So,
Allegedly.
but well, yeah, these are just numbers
Yeah,
that.
these
that
people have a lot of money, so allegedly.
yeah, well, everything's allegedly, right? Because I mean, some of these people could be lying. I don't know. It is possible. It
Sure
happens
they
to
are. It's
people
just
who
the
are.
higher that number goes, the
the
are
less
they
likely-
really they
right.
are they all lying? Are they?
So, but
From a man who said I can do anything, I could just grab him by the pussy. Yeah, I'm kind of believing those women.
There's plenty on tape that's just creepy enough.
yeah.
I mean, look, Trump's definitely got to go. There's no two ways about it. But one of the things they've come up with since this last debate is this is a single issue election. The only thing we should be running on is getting rid of Trump, and I wholeheartedly disagree with that sentiment. That this election is not just about getting rid of Trump. Yes, let's get rid of Trump.
No, it's about making
But
huge
if
changes.
you don't have a plan, what the fuck are we voting
And
for?
that's the other thing.
The
They all
Trump-
argue over like, okay, how the Republicans are like, we're going to get rid of Obamacare, and we got a great plan, and then never showed it, and then everyone called them out like, what's that plan? And they're like, oh, we got one. Look at our website, and,
Well-
and then they're like, it never existed. Well, all the candidates were doing that. The Democratic candidates were doing that to each other. Like, you have 2 paragraphs. That's not a plan.
No, Bernie has it plastered
Oh,
all
it's
over his
huge.
website.
Well, and then-
I
and
think
then
Warren was
people-
close,
but then people
in
attack
size
Bernie.
and in comparison of complexity, but nearly everybody else had like nothing.
But then people attack Bernie over how many things he's passed, right? But the truth of the matter is, Bernie is the only candidate that reads bills in their entirety before he votes on them.
Right. So when
And
there's
he is
some
the-
bullshit in there, he's probably not passing it.
He's the only candidate who is only passing bills sponsored by his group and not by special interest groups who are paying people off to do stuff.
Right.
What people don't realize, these special interest groups often write the bills themselves,
Right.
and the politician never even reads it when they try to get it passed.
Well, they'll have their aides possibly scan it, and then they'll
Yeah,
rubber
and-
stamp it, and they'll put it forward as if they had wrote the bill.
But they narrow
they'll
down.
sponsor it, and then it'll get
They
voted
narrow
in.
down a 200-page bill to 3 paragraphs.
Right, and well, it starts off as 200 pages, but then they add pork, which is like, in order to get this passed, I want this.
That's the thing is they keep
And-
adding in bullshit
Right,
into those
and
bills.
you might have 15 different pieces of
And
small
there's no
legislation,
way-
which seem like all small, innocent little things, but when they tack onto other existing pork that has been passed over the years, it makes a much more complex, draconian law that you might not
That's
want
a
to deal with.
dangerous practice.
And there's no way these
like
politicians
offering-
that are sponsoring them read
Since
the
the
whole
beginning.
thing. They don't know what all is in there.
Oh God, no one's
Bernie is
reading
the
it.
only one who is reading the entire thing before he passes it.
I'm amazed at his energy. I truly am.
So you want to know why
I
he's
wanna
not
be
passing a
him.
lot of these things? It's because he's doing what all of them should be doing,
Right.
reading the whole bill.
Right. And if
So-
you really want to attack somebody over the bills that aren't getting passed, maybe talk about McConnell and the shit that's just sitting on
Yeah.
his desk that he's refusing to even
And
look
if you
at.
want to talk about the bills that are being passed, why don't you read them before you decide that that politician did such a great job?
Mhm.
So, because a lot of this stuff ends up being terrible.
Oh, for
So-
sure. Yeah, I can sign off on bills all day long that should never have been passed. Does that mean I'm suddenly doing a great job? No. Fuck no.
I had a friend telling me about a veterans bill that I was like, oh, that's a good thing. You know, I was like, the Republicans actually did something good. And then I found out, he was like, oh, yeah, but it's all full of this shit to give, like, Kentucky and Tennessee all these fucking defense contracts that are worth a fortune. It doesn't actually help
Well,
the veterans
see,
as
that's
much as
the
they're saying
problem.
it is.
Is that
Oh yeah, they just
it-
put a pretty name on it.
Right.
well, it's horse trading is what it is. And in order to win your vote and to get this concession, you either got to help me with this bill or you got to slide this into the bill.
Right, right.
And I get that's how politics is done,
But it's
It's
wrong.
bad. It's just bad.
It's wrong, yeah. Yeah.
We need to change
Get
this.
rid of your politicians. The ones that are doing that, it's time to get rid of them.
No,
They should be
that's
changed.
all of them. That's
Yeah,
the
but they
practice.
don't, you don't
That's
know
what
who's
politics
doing it because
is.
that's how it works.
So it's most of them.
Yeah.
And that's how we end up with these very complex systems of laws overlaid onto each other that nobody understands.
And then you can't get
with
rid of some of this
loopholes
stuff.
And then they-
We've got fields and fields of tanks and planes that we're never going to use
Oh yeah,
because it's laid into a contract we can't get rid of because it gets rid of all these other bills with
it's
it.
a job fair program
no,
so
it's
that
not
every
just
state makes a
that.
certain amount of money from certain industries and employs a certain number of people
That's
and
the
earns
thing is
tax
there's-
dollars.
And there's corporations making shit tons of money off of those.
And the
even
military's
though
like, I don't want that
that-
tank.
That
It's
equipment's
outdated.
not needed,
Yeah,
but
well,
it's
it's
still,
obsolete,
it's
right.
still lining the pockets of some corporate
So-
somewhere.
right. So
Or
in the
that
end,
jet plane doesn't work, it leaks.
you wonder why we
it
don't
doesn't
have
fly
the
right,
money
doesn't turn.
for universal health care? That's why.
Yeah, because we're wasting
Oh
it.
God, yeah. And that's the other bullshit. Absolute effing bullshit. Okay, I don't even know why I'm like curbing swearing on one word and versus another, but whatever. Complete fucking bullshit. Is we have all of these first world countries, these nice Scandinavian countries, European countries that have
You can say every single civilized country in the world.
that's not us, that has implemented a system that we've either introduced, thought of, or suggested in some fashion,
And did the math and proved it's possible.
and then implemented it and made it work. And the only difference between them and us is geography. They go, well, our country is so much bigger. We have 323 million people, or whatever the number's up to at this point. You know,
Did you know you could scale math anywhere?
well, that's the thing.
And it
It's
still
like
works.
if you have
Right.
more people, then you have more taxes.
right.
There's not a problem. And I've said this in a few episodes before, and I'll keep effing saying it. We will be going to Mars. We have been landing on asteroids. We've been exploring space. We've been putting amazing satellites and telescopes. We've been doing amazing shit with 0.4% of the budget. Okay? And NASA earns a 7-to-1 return on a dollar investment. 7 to effing 1. That's almost more than education. Okay? It's insane. That's
Did you say
point
NASA gets 4% of the budget.
0.4. 0.4.
Oh my God.
And
that
last time I
hurt.
checked, the
That
military was at
hurts.
55? Is
Yes.
that right?
I think it's more than 55.
On a good day.
Okay, and we were as big as the next 16 nations. I think we're down to 14.
We have
But,
the first and second largest militaries in the world.
Right. And 13 of those are allies. One is neutral or an enemy. I don't remember, but whatever. I mean, so that we can call on those people and we can double the military.
So
Why do we need a military this big?
Our military is so big that we can take the first largest military in the world, which belongs to us, and the second largest military,
And then fight
which
ourselves?
belongs to us, fight ourselves, and still fight 2 more fronts.
Well, we are, because you have Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and coming soon, Iran.
To a battlefield near you.
I mean, come on. There's no
I don't
need
think
for all
Iran's gonna
this.
turn out anything.
There is no need for all of this.
There is, though. Weapons
it's paranoia
manufacturers.
in extreme.
Weapons manufacturers are making a fortune off of us. That's why.
That they are.
Well, here's the thing.
And also oil.
Here's
And
the
oil.
thing. If you're not an asshole and you invest a little,
Wait, no, you're asking too much.
and you invest just a little bit in diplomacy, you can actually call in your neighbor and go, "Hey, could you help me out with this asshole?"
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you don't need such a big fucking military. You don't need it.
That doesn't sound like us.
No, that doesn't sound like us at all.
But
We're
you know
the-
what?
we're the
Because I'm
bully.
saying this, because
We're
I'm
the
talking
bully.
about
We
cutting
don't have
jobs in the
friends.
military and possibly cutting back on a budget, which means you won't get that flag jacket. You won't get the newest gun or the
It
newest
doesn't even mean
jet.
that. Wouldn't it just mean
I
we
don't
stop
support the
making-
troops then.
we
Is that
stop-
what that
we
means?
stop making the planes that nobody's using?
Right.
Isn't that
How
all it
about-
means?
That's what I'm talking about.
Because
I'm talking
I
about the
think-
tanks that are sitting in a desert. There's what,
Yes.
400 of them?
Doesn't that
It's an
piss you off
insane
a little
amount.
bit, though?
Just
But-
sitting
Doesn't
there
piss
in a
you off a little
line.
bit?
But in order to fund like all these other things, we literally needed to cut like the tiniest amount off of our military budget, and we would still be like the hugest
We
military
could
on
have-
the planet.
What Bernie talked about, no deductible, no copay, no prescription costs, no fucking anything.
No bankruptcy
And
because you
let's-
needed a medical procedure.
And anybody who's questioning or wondering or listening to other sources, yes, for at least a decade, we're going to be paying an exorbitant amount. And you want to know why? Because right now we got people who have to debate, do I really need my teeth? I got 2 fingers cut off. I can get one by my insurance put back
I was
on.
just talking
Which
about
finger do
this.
I want? Okay, this is the kind of shit that we're dealing with that could be prevented. People could
It's
avoid
unethical that it isn't prevented. currently.
diseases and expensive cures if it was treated beforehand. And it's going to take a decade to cure up with all these people who look like they belong to a third world country, because they basically do. Okay?
They do. This is a third world country.
We
Just also have
You know why it's
millionaires.
not? Do you know what? The only reason that we aren't considered a third world country is because the billionaires that subjugate everybody else in the world live here.
Okay, now get this. Get this. This is
Otherwise, we're literally a third world country.
Yeah, if you took out all the billionaires who subjugate us, we would be a third world country.
This is at once so cruel and kind of funny. And I'm pretty sure, okay, that I'm not like losing my mind here. I think it was last week Tonightly, John Oliver, and I believe it was he was talking about this crew that goes on this pilot,
I
and he
saw
flies the
that.
planes over to
Yes.
these third world countries, and he helps people with dental care and basic medical needs and
Like
all this
he has
stuff.
people
And he's
lined
doing it in
up
Africa
for
and
free
all
health service.
and all these different places, maybe like Eastern Bloc Europe or some places where people
It
really
used to
need
be-
care.
Yeah, it used
And
to
then
be
when
mostly third world countries.
he's been doing America for the last couple of years. And you know why? Because there's places all over, not just Appalachia, but everywhere,
yeah.
where the need is greater in America than in third world
But that's
effing
my
countries.
Who
point.
said he does 80% of his work in America now because we have the highest need out of all the other third world countries.
But that's my point. Is the only reason
Wow.
we're not considered a third world country is because the oppressor lives among us.
Well, that's the thing,
But
is
you-
that if you
like-
average out the guy on top and the guy on bottom, sure, it looks like we're all in the middle. But that's not the
Right,
reality.
But that's not the
Right.
way it works.
Because our costs are much higher as well. So
I really
could
recommend
rent a
that
house.
everybody see that. Go watch that though. It was John Oliver. It was his healthcare episode. And like seriously, if you saw the line of people waiting for this man,
I've heard of this
to provide-
before, but
oh my God,
I never saw the
So-
video.
it's
But
shocking.
I could rent a place to live in some of these other places for $50, $100 a month or something like that. But I can't get a place here for under $1,000.
Right, and we're actually one of the more affordable areas to live.
So so it's like
Pay versus
it doesn't. The scale is off. You know what I'm saying? So
residential cost. Yeah.
it's almost impossible to dig out of poverty where I live.
Yeah. Which as
Well, yeah,
we
no,
said,
they're
is one of the
obviously
more
lowballing
affordable
what
places to
poverty
live.
is because they'll have to pay more if they.
Right.
The services would have to kick in a whole lot more if we raise the poverty level.
No, but I mean, I'm considered a medical professional, and it's hard to make ends meet sometimes.
Well, sure, because that's because there's supposed to be two of you.
Right.
You can't survive on your own.
Yeah, God
Oh,
forbid.
that's the thing.
God forbid that you're a single parent, you know.
Yeah, I am a single parent, and I am considered below the poverty
So
level.
one thing happens in your life, you know, you lose your loved one, and
Mhm.
then
Or you
start
never
taking
had
care of your
one.
family by yourself. Somebody gets sick, you know, you lose a job. Things happen, and then it's all gone. But
Yep.
go ahead and judge us.
Yep.
Think about it. We'll talk to you next week.